guys can be seated. Uh-oh. I knew I had the announcements around here somewhere. So the announcements. The offering will be taken later on during the service for those of you that don't know. Youth group, Friday evenings, it goes from 6 to 7:30. So if you have youth or you are youth, bring them here. It's a good place to be on a Friday night. Creative Recovery Group is Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Check the website. Thursday morning is men's prayer meeting. Women's prayer group is Thursday evening at 6 p.m. The first Saturday prayer at 9 o'clock to 10:30 a.m. January 7th from 9 to 9:30. Did I get that right? Okay. Life groups. After the service, go to the next step table. Okay. I think I'm done. Matter of fact, I'm a little more than done. I went a little more than I should have. Okay.
got sound there.
There you go.
Hello, hello. Happy New Year. The paper come by me last Sunday, and nobody decided to take the first day of the year. So guess what? I'm here. And if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here. Matthew 25:14-30 is our reading today. For it is as if a man going on a journey summoned his slaves and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away at once. The one who had received the 5 talents went out and traded with them and made 5 more talents. In the same way, the one who had 2 talents made 2 more talents. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. Then one who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying, Master, you handed over to me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. And the one with the 2 talents also came forward, saying, Master, you handed over to me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Then the one who had received the 1 talent also came forward, saying, Master, I knew that you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you did not scatter. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. But his master replied, You wicked and lazy slave, you knew, did you, that I reaped where I did not sow and gathered where I did not scatter? Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and on my return I would have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one with the 10 talents. For to all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. As for this worthless slave, throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So ends the reading.
Thank you for having me back again this year. This year I brought my family with me, or some of them. My oldest son, Jonas, couldn't make it. But I was remembering, in fact, Cass was remembering this morning that last year when I came, we were just a few days removed from the shooting that happened just a few hundred yards from here. And we talked about how the message of hope that you have, the message of Jesus that is here, is something that is needed so desperately in Lakewood. And so I just want to remind you, this church is in such a strategic place to love this community well. Thank you for being here on this Sunday morning. I know for many it was a hard Sunday morning to get up and to be here, but the first Sunday of the year, the first day of the week, the first day of the month, the first day of 2023, you chose to be with God's people worshiping Jesus. Thank you for being here this morning. 28,835 days. 28,835 days. How many years? Anybody guess how many years that is? 79 years. And 79 years, that is the average lifespan of somebody living in North America, 79 years. For me, 17,479 days is how long I've lived. In the Psalms, we read, there's a prayer. It says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Teach us to number our days. Life is short. When I say those numbers, do they sound short? 79 years. That life is short. Teach us to number our days. When we read this parable, we're encouraged not to waste the opportunities that God has given us. And here, as we step into 2023, I want to encourage us today. Let's not waste our lives. Don't waste the opportunities that God has given us. Don't waste your life. Don't waste your life. It's not your life. Don't waste your life playing it safe. Don't waste your life not knowing your purpose. Don't waste your life not knowing the Master. We're going to be in Matthew 25. We just read that parable, a very familiar parable. If you've been around church long, you've probably heard that parable before. So we're going to dig into it a little bit today to launch us into 2023. Let me give just a little bit of background. Jesus tells this story after a series of stories that he tells. The question that was asked Jesus is, what's it going to be like at the end of the age? What's it going to be like at the end? At the end, what's it going to be like? And Jesus' answer is, you better be ready. In this parable, it says, you're going to be held accountable for the opportunities that you were given. You're going to be held accountable. And so we get into this parable. I'm not going to reread the whole thing, but let me highlight a few things. A little bit about a talent. Talent was a large sum of money. Actually, a talent was a measurement of weight. And so it's kind of hard for theologians to kind of translate, okay, how much money was that? Well, we're not quite sure. Some estimate between 600,000 and 600,000 and 1.5 million somewhere. So it was a big amount of money. It's like, you ever see the game shows where they bring in a wheelbarrow full of like $1 million and it's big, or it's on a pallet, it's big? And so this servant, he goes and he buries, that was not just a simple task to bury a talent. It wasn't just take a little coin and bury it in the ground. No, this was a big deal. He worked hard to bury this talent. Keep that in mind. As we read on in the parable, we're going to see that the servant, the one that was lazy, that buried the talent, he had a view of the master that nobody else seemed to have. As we get into this parable, we see that this master, he rewards the first two guys because they were faithful with the opportunity that the master had given them. They were faithful with it. And he gave them back. And he gave them back more. And so what we know of the master in this parable is that he's kind, he's generous, he gives opportunity. Yet somehow this servant, this lazy servant says, I knew you to be a hard man. And basically he said, I knew you to be a dishonest man. Well, how did he know that? Yeah, the other guy, that's not how the other guys thought of the master. In the end, we see that his poor view of the master, well, he's held accountable for it in the end. He's held accountable. And he goes to this place of deep regret, a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's where he's thrown into the utter darkness. Because he wasted the opportunity that the master had given him. When we read the parables, we know this in the parables, the different characters in all the parables, they represent something. Usually the master or the king represents God the Father himself, and the servants or the children or the people, that's us. And so we can read this parable and say the servants represent us. Don't waste the opportunities God has given you in your life. Don't waste your 28,835 days because the master, he's coming back. And we're going to be held accountable. And we're going to be held accountable for what we think of the master. How many of you have ever borrowed something and then you had to give it back broken? Or you've ever lent something out and it came back broken? It's pretty terrible feeling. It's a sinking feeling, right? Well, it was about a year and a half ago. My family, we were out in Virginia, and we were at my friend's house, and he's got this big lake house, and we spent a few days with him, and then he was going to leave us to just me and my family at this lake house. And as he was leaving, he said, "Here's the keys to the 5 jet skis." We all had our own jet skis on this lake. And he said, "Here's the keys to the boat." And this beautiful, amazing boat just gave me the keys. Go for it. Now, my family, we love water skiing. We love wakeboarding. And so we spent a lot of time out on the water. One afternoon, we were out there. And my 11-year-old son, he was 11 at the time, he was wakeboarding behind the boat. And, we're driving. We're just having a great old time. All of a sudden, the boat just stops, like a dead stop. We're going fast enough that he could wakeboard, and the boat just, like it hit a brick wall, stopped. I had to pull my thoughts together, but this terrible sinking feeling, like I just broke this boat, and my salary for a year probably isn't going to pay for this boat. So we all jump out of the boat, and we come to find out we had run it aground on a sandbar. I wasn't really used to. It was actually the back of the Chesapeake Bay. So the tides up and down, and the different buoys were supposed to warn me about the tides. Anyways, for the next half hour or so, motoring back to the dock was just this terrible feeling. I just broke my friend's boat, and he's coming back, and I'm going to have to tell him. Well, we didn't break it. It was all okay. Good thing. We didn't break it. And I never told him. I never told him what happened because nothing broke. But what a terrible sinking feeling that I don't want to have at the end of my life. I don't want to have that feeling standing in front of the master. What did you do with your 28,835 days? Well, I wasted it. What did you do with 2023? What did you do with the opportunities that I have given you? Don't waste your life. It's not your life. We learn in the Psalms that the world is mine. God is speaking. He says, the world is mine and everything in it. In 1 Corinthians, we read that not even our lives are our own. We were bought with a price. Not even our lives belong to us. We're going to be held responsible and accountable for what we do with the days that God has given us. Don't waste your life playing it safe. See, here's what the servant did. He figured, I'm just going to play it safe. I'm just going to bury this talent. And that way, when the master comes back, it'll still be there. He can have talent. He can have his talent back, and everything's going to be fine. Played it safe. He covered his own butt, in a sense, covered himself, played it safe. But that's not what we were created for. We were created to play it safe. We learn from this story, we were created to put it on the line and risk it to advance the purposes of Christ. Our life exists. It's on loan to us to advance the purposes of Christ. We don't get to play it safe. And the goal in life is not to get through without any scars, without ever offending anybody, right? Without ever, stretching our faith. Don't waste your life playing it safe. Oh, but I can't afford to give. I can't afford to tithe right now. Well, take a risk. Don't play it safe. That's not what life is for. Don't waste your life playing it safe. Don't waste your life not knowing your purpose. The servant, he didn't know his purpose, and maybe he just didn't do the research or the homework, or maybe he just didn't understand the master. It seems like the other guys, they knew the purpose of the opportunity that the master had given to them. He didn't know the purpose. And so kind of in a sense, he kind of made up his own purpose. I'm just going to play it safe and get through this okay. Well, it's not funny when you're an adult and you don't know the purpose. It's funny when you're a 4 or 5-year-old and it's your first t-ball game. You ever been to that t-ball game, the 4 and 5-year-olds, and it's their first game? Well, my middle son, he played t-ball. They all played t-ball, but my middle son, I remember in particular, his very first game, they only practiced for about a half hour before the first game, and the first kid gets up the bat, and he swings and he hits the ball. The ball goes about 6 or 8 feet in front of him off the tee, and he drops the bat, and every kid on the field goes after the ball from the outfield to the first base. Everybody on the field goes after the ball, including the kid who hit the ball. And the kid who hit the ball gets the ball, holds it up like he just won a prize. The next kid who gets up, hits the ball, and he runs to first base, and he just keeps going. And it's funny because the mom is chasing after him, and I'm there in the stands, and I'm like, yeah, you go, kid. You follow your heart. You just keep going. Next kid gets up and hits the ball, runs to third base, follows his heart because that's what he thinks that he should be doing. He runs to third base. The next kid up to bat is my son, Josiah. And at least he knows that the point of the game, the purpose of the game is you run the bases. At least he knows that much. I've got a video of his, this is from probably more than 10 years ago. Let's watch that little clip. It's okay if there's no sound. Let's see if it works. That's my son in the red shorts. This is just the first couple plays. Yeah, there they go. Everybody gets the ball. A little bit more like football. Okay, so there's Josiah. He hit the ball, runs to first, and the mom is trying to chase him down. He makes it to second, and he figures the point of the game is to run all the way around, so I think I'll just keep going. Well, tag the base. We'll make this into a home run. Anyways, it's funny when you're 4 and 5 years old and you're playing t-ball and you don't know the purpose and you kind of follow your heart and you make up your own rules. But when an adult does that in life, it is not funny. It's not funny. But isn't this the very thing that our culture teaches us as the purpose in life is that we follow our hearts and we make up our own rules? There's this phrase that you may have heard called expressive individualism. Expressive individualism is what our culture has been promoting is the purpose of life. And what that means is that if it's in your heart and if it's what makes you an individual, then you ought to express it. You ought to live it out. You ought to live it out. If you're not living out what's in your heart, you're not living out your purpose, and you're not being true to yourself. This is what our culture is teaching us over and over, and I've even heard this in churches. Follow your heart, and things are going to be okay. It's a lie. It's a lie. Following your heart will lead to anxiety, depression. It's exhausting. It does not lead to peace with God, which is the ultimate peace, and is the peace that we're all looking for, is peace with God. Following your heart won't lead to that. Don't waste your life not knowing your purpose. A few days ago, it snowed at my house, 12 inches. Probably some of you got about the same. And my snowblower, I couldn't get it started. And so instead, I got my lawnmower out. No. I would wreck my lawnmower because my lawnmower was not made for that purpose. Or if it was summer and my lawnmower didn't start, I got my snowblower out and I wanted to try to cut my lawn with the snowblower. It would destroy not only my lawn, but it would destroy my snowblower too, because that's not the purpose that my snowblower was made for. In the same way, when we live for ourselves, like the servant, he didn't understand his purpose. When we don't understand our purpose, we got to choose our own purpose. We destroy ourselves. But this is what the culture keeps teaching us. Follow your heart. Make your own purpose. Let me read some quotes by some cultural icons along these lines. These guys are people that have promoted and promote this idea of following your heart. When I die, I will decidedly not be regretting missed opportunities for a good time. Anthony Bourdain. You know that name? That's the guy who had the cooking show that would travel all around the world and taste all the gourmet food. He was born June 25th, 1956. He died June 8th, 2018. Cause of death, asphyxia due to hanging himself. 22,628 days. Follow his heart. Another guy. About morals, I know only what moral is is what you feel good after, and what is immoral is what you feel bad after. So in other words, if it feels good, that's good morals. If it feels bad, that's immoral. Ernest Hemingway, June 21st, 1899, July 2nd, 1961, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. 22,626 days. Followed his heart. How about this guy? There are no rules. Just follow your heart. Robin Williams, born July 21st, 1956, died August 11th, 2014, died of asphyxia because he hung himself. 23,032 days. Follow his heart. Now let's read about what the King of the universe, the designer, the creator, the one that gives us purpose. Let's read what he says about our heart. Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? Ecclesiastes 9:3. The heart of the children of men are full of evil, and madness is in their hearts. Genesis 8:21. The intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Me too. I was born that way. You heard that? I was born that way too. Running from God, wanting to follow my own heart, wanting to make my own rules. Isn't that the sin of Adam and Eve? They said, we want to decide right from wrong. Don't tell us we want to decide right from wrong. We want to follow our hearts. Yeah, we were all born that way. Just because we were born that way doesn't give us a green light. Don't waste your life not knowing your purpose. The creator of the universe gives us purpose. Purpose is found outside of ourselves, not inside of ourselves. It's found outside of ourselves. In Isaiah, God says that he created for his glory. You know what glory is? A glory is this big word. It's weighty. It's this weighty word. I can give a word picture. So when you go out to Aurora or Centennial, somewhere way out east, and you turn around and you start driving back towards Lakewood, here in Lakewood you can't see it. But what do you see when you start driving back towards Lakewood? The mountains. And it's beautiful. And you don't have words. And I'm sitting next to my wife, and we have this moment, and there's really no words. That's glory. Babe, look at the mountains. I want to get in that. I want to be a part of that. And so my job in life, my purpose, my God-given purpose is to go, isn't God awesome? Maybe it sounds a little selfish to us in our minds that God had created us to show the universe. Even in Ephesians chapter 2 says that God created us to show the universe. He saved us to show the universe and all the entities in the universe how awesome he is. To us, it might sound a little bit selfish, but if you had all the answers in life, if you had all the salvation, if you had the instructions for life, how life should be lived, then you too would say, hey, everybody, look at me. Hey, everybody, look at me. Come to me. I got the answers. I can help. I can save you. Our job, our purpose in life is his purposes. Just as in the story, in the parable, the servants, their role was to do something with the opportunity that the master gave for the sake of the master. Not for their own sake. For the sake of the master. See, when we are living out our God-given purpose, joy follows. Joy follows when we, it's not that everything goes perfectly. That's not what I'm saying. Oh, life falls together for everybody that lives out their purpose. No. No, the snowblower could still break. It could still break. It gets worn out and bad things still happen. But we are most happy. We have the most joy when we are pursuing the purpose that God gave us in life. Just off the cuff a little bit, I was thinking this morning when I woke up, because I saw this quote by Johnny Erickson Tada. You know who she is? I believe it was in the early 80s when she was a teenager that she dove into a lake, broke her neck, and has been, I think from here down, paralyzed. And I can imagine what a miserable life. But for all those years, she's been pursuing God and His glory through this, from her wheelchair. And she's living out her purpose. And life is not going great for her. But she loves life. And she says, look at how awesome God is. I'm in a wheelchair, but look at how awesome God is. God gave her that opportunity to point to the world how awesome God is. God is coming for His 28,835 days. Let's not play it safe. Let's know our purpose. And let's know the master. Somehow this servant, he didn't understand the master. The other guys did. The other guys said, they understood that he was somebody that was giving opportunity. Let me read this verse here in verse 24. The lazy servant, he says, I knew you to be a hard man. Everybody else knew him to be kind and generous and to give opportunity. See, this servant, somehow he was given a false lens. And in the end, he's responsible for that false lens. All of us have lenses that get dirty. And you know, who gives us our lenses from a young age, helps create our lenses is our fathers. And many of us have dirty lenses because who our fathers were. Fathers, those of you that are in the room, this is very weighty. This is heavy for us. This is heavy for me. That the name that my kids call me Father, it's the same word that God the Father asks us to call Him Father. Again, in the end, we are responsible for the lenses. We are responsible for having a clear picture of the Master. I find it no coincidence that the atheists, the famous atheists, the new atheists of our day and atheists of old, let me start with Friedrich Nietzsche. He was 4 years old. His father died. He was raised in orphanages in Germany. And sometimes on the weekends or every once in a while, his mother would visit and he'd stay a little bit with his mother and his aunts. Later in life, he wrote an article, and his most famous title of this article that he wrote is, God is Dead. Christopher Hitchens, he's one of the new atheists. He died a few years ago. He writes, and he's very honest with how his father put him in the boarding schools in Great Britain, and he was raised in the boarding schools of Great Britain where he experienced some pretty horrible sexual abuse. He's very honest about this. He writes about this. What Christopher Hitchens learned is that Father leaves. Father's not there to protect me. Father's not there to provide for me. Father kind of looks the other way. Father doesn't have time for me. It's no surprise that he's become one of the most vocal atheists of our time. Sam Harris, another one. Sam Harris, when he was 2 years old, his father left. He had no relationship with his father until he was in his 20s. We all have been given some sort of father trauma. Don't waste your life misunderstanding the Father. Jesus said, He said, to see me is to see the Father. He said, I and the Father are one. If we need our lenses cleaned, if we need a clear view of who the Father is, we look to Jesus. And we let Him reshape our lenses for Father. Guess what? We all have dirty lenses at some point when it comes to what we think of the Father. And we can all let Jesus correct those lenses. Perhaps you're here and you learned growing up the Father was a hard man. Perhaps you learned that Father was a dishonest man. Father, He's the one that hurts Mother. Father, He's the one that's drunk on the couch Sunday afternoons, and if you bother Him, He snaps at you and gets angry. Some of you learned that Father, He is not generous. Father does not have time for me. We're going to let Jesus change that. And if you're here today and you're a father, you have about 6,600 days to shape the lenses of your children when it comes to how they view Father. And I hope the fathers in the room feel the weight of that task. Don't waste your life. Let Jesus fix your lens. Jesus is kind. He's compassionate. He's generous. He is present. Don't waste your life in 2023 playing it safe. Don't waste your life in 2023 not knowing your purpose. Don't waste your life in 2023 not knowing the Father. Don't waste your life thinking it's your life. He's coming for his 28,835 days. Feel the weight of that. Feel the weight of that place of deep regret that is talked about. We're here today, and just by way of being here today, I think and I hope that we all have some more days in front of us. We will have some more time. I hope so. At least we have a few more minutes. Don't waste it. This is an opportunity. In a sense, this is a talent. God has given us this opportunity to use it to advance his purposes. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Take some risks. Take some risks to see the kingdom of God advanced. Maybe that means spending time with somebody who's hurting and it is broken and lonely. Maybe you'd spend time with somebody. Maybe you're a young couple, and maybe you're a part of this church, and you've been coming, and we're going to wait to have kids. We're going to wait to have kids till we can afford it, right? Maybe it's time to take a risk. I can't afford any of my kids. Take a risk. Christians, good people, ought to be having kids. Maybe you're here today and you feel like you just don't have the resources to give to God's purposes through the local church. Well, maybe it's time to take a risk. In Hebrews, the scripture tells us without faith, it's impossible to please God. Maybe this year, take some steps of faith. Maybe this year it's time to not follow your heart, but to live out the purposes that God has given you. Maybe that's the challenge for you this year. Maybe this year you've recognized that how you see the Father is skewed and backwards, and you need to let Jesus rebuild your view of who the Father is. It was on the cross. It was Jesus on the cross. And we got a clear picture of the love of the Father. See, it was us. It was us. It was humans. It was Adam and Eve, and then us who followed. We're the ones who sinned. We're the ones who should have been up on that cross. We're the ones who said, I'm going to follow my heart, and I'm going to take my snowblower, and I'm going to mow the lawn. And in doing that, we destroyed God's perfect world. We destroyed the snowblower also. Because we wanted to follow our hearts. Adam and Eve said, we want to follow what we think. You know what? Humanity has been doing that ever since. Scripture tells us, in a sense, the rules of the universe tell us that justice has to be served. Somebody has to pay, and it's got to be humans because we're the ones. By following our own hearts, we messed up God's world. But Jesus is the one that stepped forward in perfect love and in perfect justice. He's perfect in his justice. Somebody has to pay. And so, representing all humankind, he came as a human and died the death that we should have died. He did it for us so that we can go free. And then starts his restoration project. And this is good news. This is good news. We can surrender our hearts, our lives. We can surrender that to him. And then he gives us a new heart. Gives us a new heart. I want to challenge us, don't leave today. Don't leave today without making a commitment to not waste your life. Don't waste your life. Surrender it to Jesus. Your 28,835 days, he's coming for. Let me pray. Father, I pray that you would speak to us this morning. Show us what it looks like to utilize the opportunities that you've given us to see your purposes advanced in Lakewood, in Denver, in Colorado, and around the world. Show us what it looks like this year. Father, show us what it looks like to live out your purposes, to point people to you, to give you to the glory, to make you look awesome. Father, I pray that you would reshape our lenses, our view of you. Show us the love. Show us the love of the Father. Show us what Father means. God, I pray that we wouldn't waste the opportunities that you've given us in 2023. In Jesus' name, amen.